All right, have 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting of Budget and Finance to order. Everyone should have a copy of the February minutes. Please look over those, and if there are no changes or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Ford, second by Jeff Gregory. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Move to page. Well, I found the number. Don't know. Oh, didn't know the pages. Okay, that's why I'm not seeing it. I moved to the trustee report page. Everyone look over the trustees' cash balances. And just a reminder to everyone listening to that, these packets in these figures are all available on the county website. So if anybody wants to look at what we're discussing, y'all can go to the website and find them.
I highlighted the new CD. These three lines are the new community policy.
Okay, Amy mentions the three lines marked in purple are the new CDs that we voted to uh, put in place last month. I was going to ask about that. Thank you. Are there any questions on the trustees' cash balances? Seeing none, go next page. Year-to-year comparison, February 25 versus February 26. Property tax, again, has come in strong. 102.7% of budget for the year in the 101, 100.6% in the 111. Again, both those up just a little bit from the previous year. Revenues 101 at 64.0%. Again, just up slightly from 25, but still well in line with where we were a year ago. Expenses 101, 52.5% of budgeted expenses for the year versus 46.1% previous year. So expenses up a little bit, but I think we have tried to be a little more closer to the actual estimate on expenses. But with revenues exceeding expenses is always a good thing. Any questions on the comparison? Seeing none. Next page, county financial statement, 101. Again, February through February 2026 at 66.7% of the fiscal year. Again, property taxes come in strong. At 64.0%, 64.04% of total revenues. But if you take out the grant line items, that number is at 80.95% of revenues. There's several grants. And that Any questions or comments on the 101 revenues? If not, I'll go to expenses for the 101. Again, 52.5% for the current fiscal year. If you don't count the grant line items, that is 58.4%. Again, at 2/3 of the way through the year, and we're only at 58.4% of expenses, so seem to be in good shape there. Does anyone have any questions on the 101 expenses? Seeing none, with the next page, the sheriff expenditure summary. Again, each department looks to be well under the 66.7% of where we are at this point in the year. Sheriff's Department is at 58.2% of expenses. SRO's at 60.0%. Jail at 54.2%. I believe last month there had been a question on the overtime line items in the sheriff's budget that was running ahead, but it looks like that has stabilized a little bit. Sheriff, would that Sheriff, the overtime expenditures stabilizing out, it appears. Okay. Okay. I just remember that. Mr. Gill? Well, I think we had questioned the 180, 54, 110, 187 last month too. 76.4% currently. I don't remember what it was last month, but it was 70 something percent. But like I said, it appears to be stabilizing out somewhat. Yes, sir. 54, 110, 187 overtime pay, 76.4.
I got 82.6. That's why I'm having trouble understanding where
Oh.
you're at.
Yeah, mine says 76.4. Do we have different? Yeah, we're in the 101 still.
Well, I said it. Had a discussion on this day.
Okay, okay. Okay, now we're straight. I think we actually looked last month at both 101 and 111, so I think that was a confusion. Are there any questions in the sheriff summaries? I see none. Now we'll go to the 111. Total revenues 27.9%, but if you discount the grant line item, that number is 76.4%. Of course, the main grant there is the Ward School that is still underway. Total expenditures 19.8%, and without grant line items 50.8%. So still in in good shape there. Are there any questions in the 111 financial statement? All right, going to the next page, the Sheriff's Department summary for the 111. As Mr. Gully points out, overtime is still a little high, but everything else still looks to be well in line, and the overall is 62.5% of his budget at 66.7% of the current year, so still looks to be in good shape there. Any questions in the Sheriff's 111? All right, next page, 116, solid waste. Total revenues, 85.8%. Expenditures at 49.8% for the year. Are there any questions in the 116 summary? All right, next page, 118, ambulance service. Total revenues at 78.2%. Expenditures at 60.1%. Next page, you'll have the breakdown of the ambulance expenses year to date. Does anyone have any questions in the ambulance expenditures? Seeing none, move to the next page. 121, the Core Civic. Again, this is pass-through money. The state pays us that we turn around and pay to Core Civic. Technically shows on our books, but we don't get any real benefit from it. Amy, that one seems 39.4%. Has the state just been late paying on some of that stuff, or runs about 2 months behind? Okay. Thank you. Next page, 122, County Drug Fund. Again, this is under the sheriff's control. We don't really do much with this unless there's something that needs to be paid for from that. Next page, 127, is American Rescue. This is part of the ARPA money that we still have outstanding. And page after that is 128, again, ARPA funding. Amy, what do we roughly have left in ARPA? I want to say it was 3 something. About 4. Okay, about 420,000 still remaining in ARPA funding. Next page, 151 debt service. Revenues 73.6%. Expenditures 43.2. Of course, most of the expenditures are on set schedules. A number of these payments will be made in May, so that expenditures line will jump up quite a bit here in a few months. Are there any questions in the 151? Next page, 171, Capital Projects Fund. You'll see, of course, the revenues from the annual core civic administration fee, and then also the increase in the impact fee that the commission put in place earlier this year. Just a few expenditures out of that. Well, that estimating balance, I guess that does not include the CDs that we took out of that.
So government funding or accounting is a little bit different than private. The fund balance will still show that $2 million in that estimated, but that $2 million is invested elsewhere. But the fund balance is still 2.3 million.
Okay. And thank you for clarifying. Any questions in the 171? All right, next page, 131, Highway Fund. Again, the only money that the Highway Fund gets from the county is a little shy of $120,000 in property tax. Everything else they get is gas tax or state money. But total revenues in 131 are at 35%. Total expenditures at 21.2% through February. Ms. Gully.
Hey, Miss Amy, on that one, maintenance of effort, I know it's come in a little higher than the budgeted amount to send. Do we have to send the same penny value every time or just the same amount of money every year on that maintenance of effort? So we could, what was that amount of money that we have to send exactly? Cause we budgeted $115,943.
Basically, we just keep them at the same tax rate every year. And
Yeah, but that's the penny value. I mean, that's the percent of penny. So we're gonna be giving them more. Does that increase our maintenance of effort?
we can decrease their rate.
That's
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at here, y'all. Might want to look into that because it has continued to go up. It was at 110. I think the original was 100 and it's climbed to 120. And I'm not saying it's not a necessity. I'm just saying they're not asking for it at this time. And we're letting it just continue to grow because we're giving the same penny value to that piece percent wise. Little bits of money can help.
Something to think about here in a couple months. Thank you, sir. Any other questions in the Highway Fund?
I think the
Ms.
one thing
Gully.
we're going to need to know is what is our maintenance of effort at that point? That's going to be big to know. What is our maintenance of effort for the highway fund going forward? If it's back to 100, if that's where we're still at maintenance of effort of, it'd be nice to cut nearly a half a penny there.
Any other questions in the 131? All right, next, 141, general purpose school. Again, we only their revenues are at 80.4% through February. We actually have an expenditure sheet this month. You usually don't get the expenditures. Expenditures at 60.6%. So schools look to be in pretty good shape. Any questions in the school revenues? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the financial summaries. Motion by Bubba, second by Atwood. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Move next into the budget amendments. There are like three from the schools that first one, 141.14. $62,091.42. It's like this is an internal transfer to pay for the strategic bonus. It should be strategic compensation bonus that the school system has had in place for a number of years. Any questions on that one? Okay, I'll finish going through them and then I'll put your motion in place. Next one, 141.15, $40,000. This is converting a science lab at Jim Satterfield Middle School to a classroom. Again, 40,000 expense. I'm sure Mr. Gully will appreciate having another classroom.
That's a grant as well, so it's under a grant piece.
Okay, good. And then 141.16, $303,571.43. This is revenue coming in from the Tennessee Department of Education because the schools received an A grade. And so they got a nice bit of funding from the state there. Mr. Gully.
So that is if the majority of your schools receive a score of A, which we have 3 schools, so we need 2 schools to score an A, there is a percent of that TISA fund that is optional to grab, and kind of nice 2 years in a row since that's been available. We've been able to secure that. There's not a lot that are able to secure that. So I think it's something that, as I ask for the little things along the way lately for schools, I know one of those has been discussion on the possible implementation of a wheel tax. I still say that it's smart to put money forward for future projects, but the commission goes which way they want to go when they put this on the docket. You have a school system that is definitely performing well above state average. So I would hope they're seen as appreciative.
Thank you. Okay, and then I had a motion from Atwood and a second by Overman to approve all 3 budget amendments. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next, you'll see a resolution doesn't have a number on here yet, but it is the support resolution for the local Parks and Recreation funding grant application. Parks and Recreation has discussed this at length and has sent it forward with a favorable recommendation. This will go to the county commission tonight or next Monday night to be voted on. We'll discuss it at work session tonight. Authorizes us to apply for the LPRF grant with a local match not to exceed 1.3 million. There was a public meeting with the Kimberly-Horn representative prior to this meeting. And one thing that was added to that, originally that grant was only the swimming pool. They have added in to redo the tennis courts. And that was something that Parks and Recreation had asked about. And we were able to include that in the grant application. Any questions on this resolution? Okay. And it's a good question. Where do we want the money to come from this if we opt to go this route? Well, we do have We do have a capital projects fund.
You don't have that
Really?
money in your capital projects fund? That money's been put in CDs. You have 1 million of it that will come out in a year's term of times. I know the term and time might be available at that point. I think if you're going to a capital projects fund that's been slated to go towards a jail its entirety, it would be very poor of choice of us to spend the majority of that money in this manner.
No?
It can also come from multiple sources. This committee just needs to decide how. You've got ARPA funding, you've got capital projects. It will be dispersed over several years, so it's not that we have to do all of it in 1 year. It can be divvied out amongst the project timeline. They're thinking about a 3-year timeline. We might also be able to get private funding contributed, but for this resolution, we still need to basically designate where that might come from.
Does this resolution have to be approved to apply for the grant? And it is committing that we will accept the grant if we will find the money.
It is not accepting the grant. It is saying that this commission is supporting this application and will fund our portion if we are selected for the grant.
But if we are selected for the grant and then we can't find the money, we
do
can
not
still
have-
back out?
We do not have to accept the grant.
Yeah, that point was raised at Parks and Rec also. Even if we approve this resolution and have it, if we get the grant, and if for some reason we decide we do not want to proceed, we are not obligated to accept the grant if we receive it.
I will just say, I am not comfortable spending this sort of money when we don't even have a jail solution figured out. I think there's too many irons in the fire at this point to commit to this amount of money.
Well, as I understand, and Amy, please correct me if I'm wrong, we can send this favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation at all. It goes to the county commission regardless. So it's just a question of what do we want to do here at this committee?
The Parks and Rec, the favorite recommendation, but it's like you said, we ain't gotta, at the end, accept it if we hadn't got the money there. I mean, we gotta have it done by April 1st, my deal, to even apply for this. Or we're not on board with it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
going back to the trial balance, and forgive me for my incompetence. The interest rate and the due dates on some of those CDs, $1.6 million, $1.604 million comes due this month, if I'm looking at this correct. Are those funds spoken for? I think I know where the 604 is spoken for, and that's in 111 anyway. On the revenue side of things at 46490. Okay, so on the trial balance sheet, the fourth entry down, that's 604. that's on a CD that looks like it comes due on March the 26th. I think that CD is being held for four pages further on the 111 Urban Services Fund on the revenue stream. That 46,490, those numbers are real close. And that may not be the case, but is those funds earmarked for that?
So those two line items do not have anything to do with each other. Now, as far as your revenues on your trial balance for the trustee, honestly, I do not know where all these CDs are for. What the trustee does, she is the one that's investing the county money. The fund balances are what we really need to look at, because a lot of the funds and your revenues on your trustee, I mean, that's your highway, your schools, everybody, that's all of our funds combined together, and she's able to invest them to get interest. The line item you were looking in 111, that is our grant for the Broadway project. And that's just the 607 is what we've been granted for that project. So unfortunately, those two lines aren't related. I can get more information from Miss Cindy as far as what is available to use, but I'm afraid of what her answer is going to be. We do have the 2 million for the capital projects, which is marked. There was two others. Those were for the schools, so that's already been dog-eared. Like I said, we've got the ARPA funding, capital projects, and not a whole lot in 101, quite honestly. So let's just keep that one off the table. When the budget comes around, we'll have a better idea. But of course, this grant has to be submitted by April 1st. And I know it's a frustrating position to be in at this time. It's just a matter if the commission wants to pursue this funding for these projects or maybe wait until next year for it.
I do know the idea of doing the pool is popular with the public. Ms. Kerr, I think, had stated last month at work session, she had talked to people while she was out getting signatures for a petition, and pretty much everybody she had spoken to spoke favorably of it. Mr. Gully.
You mentioned popular with the public, and I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know what, if I go say, hey, do you want a pool? People might say, yeah, we want a pool. It's a great idea. I think we need a county pool. When we go lay out some bullet points, here's the cost of this pool. Where are we bringing this funding from? Here's what this cost. Do I want a pool? I fought for that thing and then fought for that thing. And Mr. Slee has done a great job keeping the one we've had running for the amount of time it was. It is beyond repair. We know that point at this time. We've unfortunately been met with that piece at a task of time where the county's already looking at a large debt to be taken on in another means. I'm not saying it's not something that people might want, but do they want it at the expense that we're looking at in this case? And that's the conversation. I think we could gather some information without just saying people say they want it. If I say you want a pool, hey, do you want a pool? Yeah, well, we want a pool. When I say, hey, here's what this pool is actually going to cost. Here's what taxpayer dollars are going to look like. We're looking at this amount, 2 point some change $1 million. $1 million of that is county match money. Where do we fill out on this pool at that time? I think it'd be really interesting to see if we could get maybe even our website is a capable place of putting out here's some facts. What do you want? We want your public's opinion. So are you a yes or you a no on this piece? I think it'd be a really good place to gather some of that data and make sure people have been made aware. I'm not saying Ms. Kerr led anybody astray. I'm saying if I go ask people, hey, what do you think we need a pool? Yeah, we need a pool. here's what the cost is. Wait a minute. I gotta back up and look at my checkbook and make sure we can handle this.
Understood.
There's a lot of wants versus are these things that we can handle at that time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
just something to add also. The $1.3 million that the county would invest initially
Mhm.
to build it, to have it. That's one expense. I think a swimming pool for a community is a great thing to have. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great thing to have. I think it's a great thing to have at your park. But that's $1.3 million that the commission would be pledging towards a project whose main goal is to finance and build a pool that over the last several years has lost 20, 25, $30,000 year over year. And that's over and above the 1.3 that we're looking to spend to build it. We need to make sure we need to make sure that we can afford it before we say, yes, let's do it.
What's the will of the body? Amy, if we send this forward, we have to have the funding defined. Is that correct? Or can we send this to the commission and
We can submit without the pledge at this. So I'll get back to you by.
So you're saying
Mr.
right
Burke.
now, if we go through this, there's no backing out of it.
Well,
It's still back.
yes, yes,
It's
yes,
still back.
yes,
Like
yes.
how long are we looking at for that time to back out?
Uh, the, they told us at the public meeting that the grants are typically announced in August. So I would presume we would, at that point, we would have to make a decision either to accept it or not accept it in August. And I guess the question is, can we move it forward without funding in place? And like I said, Amy said she's going to speak to Kimley Horn on that and hopefully have an answer for next week. So I guess do we send this with no recommendation at all? We'll wait for the answer on that. Is it? I'm looking for ideas. I don't really have a answer on this one myself. Which for
We just spent somewhere close to $2 million on a field house over yonder, that and the roof. One in school could help us out here a little bit. I mean, they don't mind coming to us. They asked us for money. I've caught a lot of slack on that field house over
well,
there.
but
I've had more people.
the money we give the schools is still county money. So I mean, even if we did ask them for something toward it, but it would still be asking for our own money back in a way. I don't know how well that would.
Well,
I'm not sure whether you even could do that.
The corner, I looked in there and it looked like that their ending balance was $6 million.
But I believe a good portion of that is paying for the field house that has not been, that money that has not been spent as of yet.
go ahead and apply for it, and then we can back out. I mean, if we don't apply for it by April 1st, we're not gonna get it anyway. But if, when we still back out in August or whenever, if we do get approved for it, we still got time to back out then if we ain't got the funding for it.
But, Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
I think the key to this might be if we could get some private money involved in this. Cause $1.3 million is a big lick. It's a big lick. But if we would have some time between now and say when we have to make a decision in August to raise some private money, it could really soften the blow on this. And if we go ahead and prove to apply, it will give us some time to look at some possibilities on private money.
My only problem with that is that's not what this says. This says that we're gonna agree to pay that. And we don't know if we're gonna get the private funding. So it's hard for me to just hope.
But again, you don't have to make a decision to April. I mean, the decision to as far away as August. If you could raise private money by that time to supplement that fund, then it would be, you see where I'm taking this?
I get it, but we gotta put something down on this paper where we're gonna get it right now.
Again, you're not making a commitment.
But it says the county will be responsible for the 50% local match. That's what we're agreeing to.
Mr. Gully.
I think I see where we're sitting here in this piece of conversation is a resolution supporting and approving the submission of the local parks and recreation funding grant application to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. We'll get there in a second, y'all. As I look down at section 2, Hartsville-Trousdale County will be responsible for 50% local match not to exceed 1.3 million. That's where I have trouble putting my name and saying my vote is saying that we're putting $1.3 million towards a pool. That's where I'm having trouble today. Now, it was mentioned that it was a possibility of land acquisition being part of our match. If we know that there's an opportunity for land acquisition to be a part of that match, and we know what that land piece of conversation is, my vote might look a little different because anytime we know right now today our park is in a dire situation in a lot of ways. It may be more than the public really realizes in that we do not own our parking lot. That's come very clear in a very recent piece here to this community, right? And we understand that Parks and Rec was met with quite a few folks conversating in the last Parks and Rec meeting. We don't own it. We can't make that decision. That's clearly not in our hands. It might be a conversation where we're looking at a different conversation at that point. My problem is I don't have that conversation here with me, and I'm agreeing to 1.3 million. And I'm gonna be straight with you. I've been in this government thing long enough to realize when we support it, we ain't gonna go back on it. Plain and simple.
All right, then do we want to consider maybe moving this with no recommendation at all and hopefully get an answer by next Monday's commission meeting when the commission would actually have to vote on it and hopefully have an answer as to do we have to have a funding mechanism in place? Yes, yes, that's what Amy was saying. She was going to get with Kimberly Horn and get an answer on that. So yes, do we want? I said this has to go forward to the commission in some form or fashion. Do we want it favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation at all? And no pending answer on some of those questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dennis.
can we get further clarification? If we apply for this grant and we receive this grant, there's a lot of ifs and ands right here. If we apply for the grant and we receive the grant, what, if any, recourse does the county have, whether monetary or whatever, if we decline once we have been approved for the grant? Is there any kind of penalties there for us anywhere? Those are just things that's moving in my mind that I'd want to be sure of.
Yeah, that was brought up at Parks and Rec, I believe, Bubba, and I believe we were told, that there was no liability on the county if we chose to decline the grant. Mr. Gully.
Even though there's no liability, might that cause us an issue next year if we wanted to apply for this same grant down the road? That'd be, I think that's the same conversation we're talking about. If we've applied for it, we've received it, and then we said, no, we can't afford that. Then they're sitting there looking at us, even though we had a park plan, all the pieces planned out. I think what we're looking at is we've been crunching on time here very close, and we're trying to look at something delicate in a time when money's already tight in that conversation, when we know there is a elephant in the room for when it comes to budgets right now.
And you make a good point about, does it hurt us next year? What's the will of the body? All right, well, I don't like to make a motion from up here, but I will move to send it with no recommendation at all, pending getting some of the answers from Kimberly Horn, so that hopefully by next Monday we have answers to some of these questions. So basically to have it with no recommendation from this committee at all. And I'll make that motion. Well, the resolution says, recommend a Parks Recreation Committee March 5th, recommended by the Budget and Finance Committee. So there is there where we are sending it in some form or fashion. I think Bubba had a second on the motion. This is to send it with no recommendation at all to the full body. Any questions on this? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, we will send this with no recommendation, and we'll hopefully have some clarification next week and make a more informed decision at that time. All right, next thing on the agenda, emergency tower funding. This came from the Law Enforcement Committee. The sheriff has been working with engineers for a time to get another radio tower added. Gravel Hill is in the Gravel Hill area, and basically the way the sheriff has explained it, and feel free to correct me if I get anything wrong, Sheriff. There are portions of the county, especially on the western side, where radio contact is intermittent at best with dispatch. So for us to improve that communication, and really that's kind of a safety issue if a deputy gets in trouble and can't radio for help. Law Enforcement Committee sent forward to have that go to bid. The engineering specs have been received by the mayor's office. The estimate on that was about $400,000. Again, that's if we want to go that route. Again, that's something we would need to figure out how to pay for. Yeah. Mr. Ford points out we do have ARPA that could fund that. What, if any, action do we need to take here tonight, Amy, or is this just discussion? Okay, so this is just discussion. We don't need to take any action, just something to be thinking about. Mr. Gully.
I might remind us on the ARPA funds, maybe I forgot something on this, but I believe we approved to pave the walking track. So there is going to be some money right there that is spent somewhere in that $100,000 range. Just remember that as we're talking about dollars. It ain't on the allocated pieces, but it's going to be spent. I would assume that'll come out of ARPA, in my opinion.
So that 100,000 was already allocated. We just kind of renamed it. So it doesn't take off what we, the 425, that's of the unallocated, if that
So
helps.
it
them.
is not part of that 425
It is
unallocated.
not, no, sir.
I knew we had donated like, or not, we had spoken of it last year, but it usually sits in the fund balance, but it's not in the fund
Right,
balance.
so we had set aside that amount for if the playground had gone over what we thought it would, which it didn't. So we were able to move that over to the walking trail.
Nice to have some good news.
All right, again, this isn't something we have to decide on this evening, just be thinking about. I said this is something the sheriff says he needs, and I said again, it seems to be a safety issue for our deputies. So I say let's just be thinking about this and hopefully decide next month if we want to move forward on this or not. All right, item C, other. Is there any other business that anyone on the committee wants to discuss? All right, seeing none, move to public comment. Anyone in the public want to address anything that we've had on the agenda tonight? Ms. Tierney, if you'll come over to the microphone up here. Joan.
Got it. Yeah. I'm Joan Tierney. I have a question. When discussing anticipated revenue streams that could assist in paying for our portion of the park, why is it there was no discussion of the $1 billion gas plant that's been built in our county and will be paying property taxes and the renegotiation of the contract with Core Prison? It seems to me either one of those is going to provide additional revenue to our county within the next 3 years.
The core civic contract and the gas line are obviously, two different things. I said, we will be renegotiating the contract with core civic, but maybe some of that could, but that's not money that we have in place right now. And the same thing with the Enbridge pipeline, that's expected revenue down the line. We have to have something in place that we have as of April 1st, 2026. And we won't have either one of those on April 1st, 2026, which is the deadline to apply for the park grant.
But we're discussing anticipated ways to pay for this in a 3-year period of time. Isn't that correct? I mean, we don't have to have all of the money by that specified date, do we?
We don't necessarily have to have correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to have the money, okay, here's the money. We have to have a plan. This is how we're going to pay for it. And
And wouldn't those, like, we've got a big power plant that we've built and we're getting tax money from that, and that's part of our plan?
but we have no idea when that will come in. We are hoping that it will begin with the 26, 27 fiscal year, but we have no way of knowing that right now. And to count on money that you don't know for a fact that you're going to have in hand would be a foolish decision. Probably, I mean, you don't, if I want to go buy something, I'm gonna make, I can't say, oh, well, I think I'm gonna have this windfall come in next week, so I'm gonna go ahead and go buy a car. What happens if the windfall doesn't show up? It's kind of thing. We cannot count on. This is money that we expect to have, but we cannot count on it as part of this project. If they were paying that money now, if that pipeline had been done 2 years earlier and they're paying whatever on now, yeah, then yeah, we could certainly have that discussion. But budgeting with money that we don't know that we have just is not good practice. For government or for personal.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.